Hello, 你好. Welcome to Mandarin Mama Chit Chat by Mandarin Together, where two Taiwanese moms, Trista and Yao Yao, share their experiences in raising bilingual children, exploring identity, code switching, and embracing the joys and challenges of bilingual parenting. Come along with us on this exciting journey.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Mandarin Mama Chit Chat. I'm so glad you are here. Every Tuesday, we bring you a new, inspiring guest to come on to chat and share their journey with us. Today, we have Serena. Serena, she's a publisher, she's an author. We have so much fun talking to her, and she is so gracious and open to share her journey. We actually immigrated to United States at the same time, so we were just talking about a lot of being a young immigrant and how we navigate our journey when we were in kind of teenage year in middle school. So she is the author and publisher. So she owns Duck Duck Books. She started Duck Duck Books during pandemic because she shared she had a severe postpartum depression. I love her story, and I think she's incredible and inspiring because she turned her mess to a message. Now, she's not only publishing books for herself and sharing her story, she is helping other moms, other women to share their voices. She is making impact on many children's life and women and mom. So let's come in and listen to her story. Hey, if you like our podcast, if you enjoy this episode, would you share it to a friend, a mom, and bring them to our community and we can learn and grow together? If you like our podcast, make sure you leave a review. We would love to hear from you. And make sure you subscribe because we will have a new guest every Tuesday. You don't want to miss a thing. And we always check our show notes because we have free resources that you can download as well. Okay, let's welcome Serena.
Serena, thank you for joining us. So happy you are here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Can we start off talking about, maybe introduce yourself? Let's talk about where you're from, your background. I know you used to live in Houston and you moved to Seattle, and we can't wait to hear about Duck Duck Books, what you created.
Thanks. Yeah, so I was born in Guangzhou. So I speak Cantonese and Mandarin. And I moved to Houston, Texas, actually Katy, Texas. Gosh, it's been so long. 2002, what's that? 22 years ago? Oh my gosh, goodness. Yeah, so I grew up there and, went to 8th grade high school. Then I moved to Seattle, Washington. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm the founder of Duck Duck Books. It's a publisher for children's books that's available in different languages. So we currently publish in English, Spanish, traditional and simplified Chinese, as well as Cantonese. And the theme is mostly about social emotional learning.
Okay, so I have questions, so many questions regarding yourself, right? Your background, your stories, and also the Duck Duck book. But I'm gonna start with when you first came to the States. You started at 8th grade, right? In 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a little bit with us how that was, like the experience trying to, I guess, fit in, or from Guangzhou, right?
Mm-hmm.
Totally different culture, and then with different language, different cultures. Could you just share with us like your first couple months or even couple years? How was that journey like?
Yeah. Well, let me just say it's a terrible, terrible, terrible experience. I don't know how to put it. Now that I'm, and now that I'm getting older, I keep thinking, oh my gosh, my parents, they, literally moved to a country where they don't even speak the language at age 40, right? And I cannot imagine myself doing that. But as a teenager, I did not understand any of that, right? I didn't know why we're moving here. First of all, my parents have their reasons, but I have all my friends. I have, everything back home. So they actually told us that we are going on a 10-day vacation to the US, which would be very usual for us, right? Like we always do a summer vacation. But what they did not tell me were that we were going to stay here. So I didn't even get to have proper goodbye to all of my friends. We literally got here. Well, their reason was that if we told you ahead of time, then you're not going to study anymore. Like you're going to be like, oh, I'm out of here. You know, I'm not going to do all my stuff. My younger brother was still like getting ready for his like badminton tournament at school, you know? Anyway, so the first few months, I arrived in the summer, so there were no school. My parents signed me up for some summer school, which I did not understand a word because I did not speak English then. So it was like really all going all the way back from beginning at age 14, trying to learn the ABCs, you know, because I didn't pay attention to English class. And I have no friends really. I remember growing up that summer, watch a lot of Sesame Street with my brother. The Big Red Dog, you know, like all the kids shows on TV, because that's all that I can really understand at the moment. And then trying to fit into 8th grade immediately 3 months after with my little dictionary, like electronic dictionary. So, but I suppose my saving grace was I talk a lot, if you can't tell already, so stop me whenever you want to interject with questions. I talked a lot, and the first year I was pretty much nonverbal because I didn't have enough vocabulary to talk to my friends. But my desire to talk and to speak was so strong that a year after, I basically, in my broken English, I started making more friends, and you know, I was asking people, "Would you be my friend?" And here I am.
Okay, I can resonate with your story a lot because I came here when I was 8th grade too.
Oh my
So
goodness, how yeah,
yeah,
I can't believe
so
there's
I
another
was,
one like me.
14, but because I didn't speak any English, right? They held me
Mhm.
back, and I was trying to get student visa. So
Mhm.
I was in a private school. I did immigrated here with my parents. I was living with my aunt. When they were talking to the principal, they suggested them to help me back for 3 years. So I was, yeah, I was really crushed. Can you imagine, like, oh, going 8th grader, right? About to go to high school, and that was that awkward age with emotion. You know, kind of try to know like who am I? Try to identify myself, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then now I got held back for 3 years. It was horrible. But
Wow.
I have that too. I have that little dictionary because I can't speak any English. So I was like always typing, and I like to talk too and make friends. And I was living in Florida, Melbourne, Florida. So it's a really little small town. I
Mhm.
think I was the only Asian in that whole entire school. So everybody, I didn't even experience any like racism, anything like that. They loved me like I'm an alien. Like, oh, I like your hair. Oh, I like your eyes. Like, I look so different from any, like all of them. It's just so different. I stand out. But so they were really nice to me, and they all want to be my friend. So I always like type like, anything. I just type in that little bulky
Mhm.
translator. I use that, I think, for like a couple years to survive
Y-
6th grade, 7th grade, middle school. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah, I
fun.
always have fun memories of Houston for that same reason, because when I was there, now Houston is very diverse, but when I was there, when I first arrived, there were Asian kids, but not a lot. And so there were classmates that would ask, "Oh, do you speak Asian?" A genuine question, right? They're not trying to be racist or anything. They just wanted to know. And I remember really, all the neighbors are so friendly, and friends are the kids at class are so friendly, that they try to make me feel welcome as best they could. But of course, I had to be at ESL class, so I wasn't even in the regular class with everybody else, right? Um, I felt like I technically counted as I held back 1 year because I could have gone to 9th grade. But my parents were like, oh, she's gonna suffer so bad, like going to ninth grade and doing ESL classes. So they're like, okay, we give you 1 year in eighth grade. Even then, I remember writing poems. I used to write a lot, and I was a published author in China, but I was writing poems during the summer, and I would rewrite lyrics from popular songs to basically express how lonely I was. So but yeah,
I can
I'm actually
relate.
glad to find that you have the same experience as me,
I
so I don't
Yeah,
feel alone in that sense.
I can totally relate. I cried every night. I thought it's gonna be like a big American dream. Come on, 14-year-old. We don't really
Yeah.
know much. I just learned everything from Hollywood movie, right? Like, ooh,
Yes.
America. Wow, it's gonna be so fun, like New York, right? And then I was
Yeah.
like dumped into this small town. I was trapped. I'm like, oh, I miss my friend. I miss my mom, and just like I cry all the time. And then I was having visa issue. I can't go back home for the longest
Oh,
time, for like 4 years. And I
oh
can't
my
imagine
goodness.
for you, you didn't even say goodbye to all your friends. And there's no social media back then. I think the internet
There
was
were
just literally
no,
started.
no. I had a Hotmail email address, and would like try to, and at that time we didn't even get internet set up until like a couple weeks in, and then I'm trying to like find friends on MSN, or
Yeah, we used to mention. I think it's
or
like AOL back then. So then it takes
AOL.
forever to
Yeah,
like connect.
yeah, exactly. And then the time zone difference, right? And also friends back home, they have no idea why I'm not coming back. And I couldn't really give a really good explanation either. And so that was, yeah, it was, yeah, but we survived it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So I came here. It was like the opposite. I wanted to come here myself. I was an exchange student, and I was also older at the time when I came here. I was 16. I was senior in high school. So the last year of high
Mhm.
school.
That's tough
And
too.
yeah, the last year. And I was one of a few Asians. There were some Asian students in my school. It was a small town in Ohio, and they were born and raised here in America. So I was the only, I guess, foreigner in the whole school. But instead of feeling welcome, like, so I came here. It was like when Twilight was really popular, and and I thought, or a High School Musical too. So I thought like, oh, the high schools in America are like super welcoming, friendly, and I'm gonna come in there, not saying like, oh, people should like me, but I just thought that is the energy and the atmosphere. But it was not the case. People were indifferent, I guess. Like I had no, like nobody was racist against, like, against me, or like I didn't feel uncomfortable per se in the sense I feel threatened or intimidated, but it was more people didn't really care. Like, oh, there's a new student, so what? Like she looked different, so what? Like we just like keep it to our own circles.
Mhm.
So I had to, like, with my limited English proficiency, I have to. So I'm also really outgoing and love to talk, but I found it really hard to without a language, and also people just didn't seem interested, and I have to like I don't know, hype myself up and ask people, would you be my friend? And it
Mhm.
like 16, 17-year-old, that's kind of an odd and awkward question too. But and then yeah,
Mhm.
I knew everybody from like kindergarten, like they went through the same school, like K through 12. So it was an experience. But at least
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that none of us had any like racist comments or behavior, like which is, I feel really fortunate. And I still haven't, and I hope it stays that way. I know there's always kind of concern in the back of my mind, but so far I think that's no complaints on that part. But it's
Yeah.
really hard though, just like come here, like without being told or prepared at all.
Yeah, like we didn't have a choice
Yeah.
coming here, right? We didn't make that choice. And so having to assimilate,
Yeah.
knowing this almost betrayal in the back of our minds, it is like we were sent here. Yeah. But yeah, I remember well, you were brave enough to even ask, will you be my friend? And I remember I would write it in like a little note.
Oh,
Remember passing notes? It was like a thing back then, because we didn't have cell phones with us. Um, and I would write it and just kind of give it to people. And I can never do that these days, but I don't know how, desperate times come with desperate measures.
Sure. Yeah. And another thing is too, I can 电子词典, the electronic dictionary, or I think they're called 电子词典.
Yeah.
That was almost like a saving grace. So obviously it helps me with my English too. But aside from that, that was like a conversation starter too. Because I would be in the library doing that, like in a school library, and people would come up like, oh, what is that? That looks so cool. So like I actually made a couple
Yeah.
friends through that handy dictionary, which I thought was kind of funny and fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that does save life. Can you imagine if we had to like use paper dictionary that were like this thick and we
No,
had to find every single word? Oh my gosh.
I
I
think
know.
nobody would have the patience to wait for me to turn to the page of the
So forget it. I
actual
don't want to
puzzle.
talk to you. I don't want to be your friend.
Yeah.
Too much work.
Right. Okay. So in the beginning, now we mentioned about like you are the author of Doc Doc books, right? And it
Mhm.
has the offer, like it's available in multiple languages. So can you share
Mhm.
with us, kind of take us back to how it first started, right? Like,
Mhm.
and how has the journey been like for you, and how long?
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, Duck Book started during the pandemic, like a lot of other self-publishers, actually. Uh, right around when the pandemic started, I was, newly postpartum. My daughter now, my older daughter is 4.5. I have a 100-day-old. Um, it was a, it was a very different experience, and in that I don't know what I was expecting being a mom. I had a pretty smooth pregnancy. So, to me, I was like, I was so career driven. Things were just going great, and so I didn't really think that having a kid is going to be such a setback. But lo and behold, my kid comes out. I had the most terrible experience at birth and breastfeeding. And I was just beating myself up a lot. And so as a result, 8-month postpartum, I was diagnosed with severe postpartum depression. And I didn't have the tools to help me navigate that time, right? Because growing up Chinese American, my parents would be like, what is mental health? Like, what do you mean? Like, can you not think positive? Like, think about all the terrible things that are happening to other people and you still have a roof above your head, whatever. Um, so I wasn't getting the support that I needed. Well, luckily my husband encouraged me to seek therapy, which is unheard of in my family. And through therapy and medication, I did get better. But through that process, right? And I don't know if anyone listening or if you guys had depression experience, but I talk about it very openly now because I didn't have any friends that would openly talk about that or even going through the same thing as I did. But when a person is depressed, you're having a very hard time bonding with your child. You literally look at this child and feel like she's not even yours, right? It's just like this new human being. You can't find joy in life, and so you can imagine day after day I was just trying my best breastfeeding with this creature that came out of me. um, and the only thing that really saved us in that bonding experience is through reading. My daughter loves to read and loves flipping through books. And so that would be the one thing that I would look forward to every day, that, reading before bedtime. And the more that we read some of these books, we read thousands of times. I just think in the back of my head, well, if I am reading all these books to my kid, what if there are books out there that are in the language that I wanted to pass down to my daughter? So in Chinese, for example, and talk about, maybe useful phrases that they can repeat to themselves years down the road if they are having a hard time, like how I would. And so that's when I started looking for materials like that, and there weren't that many available. They were Chinese bilingual books, and they're very well made. But a lot of them maybe focus on more cultural, like food, for example, right? Or numbers and counting, things like that. But for me, I was looking for something more than that. I was looking for topics such as, now we call it social emotional learning, but at that time I was looking at, are there any books about self-confidence, self-esteem, right? About acceptance, about diversity and inclusion, about, born a little bit differently, right? Like, so all of those things kind of was like in the back of my head, and I just really wanted to put that down on paper. So I started out Duck Duck Books just writing my own books, and my background is in multicultural advertising, so I had a whole network of coworkers that are also new parents. Many of them are new parents during the pandemic, and they said, well, we can get together and we can do this. I can lay out your book, I can illustrate for you, right? So that's how we really got started. Now, my ultimate goal, of course, is not just writing my own story, because in my opinion, other people's story are so much worth telling. All of our stories are similar but different, yeah. So I wanted to create a platform where people of color like myself have a chance in publishing. So that's why I created Duck Duck Books, ultimately as a publisher, to publish other people's books as well.
Wow, that is incredible. So it seems writing has always been an outlet for you, because you mentioned when you first came here, you were lonely and then you wrote poems.
Yes.
That's such a great outlet. And then so I had my son, my oldest son, he's also 4.5. So I think, yeah. And then I was never diagnosed, but I think if not severe, I'm sure I have some degree of postpartum depression as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I totally relate to what you mentioned. Like, I'm seeing this creature, this baby, but I don't feel the affection. I don't feel connected. I just feel a sense of strong responsibility in
Yeah.
doing the so-called right things as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so then I can totally relate. And I love that you got the help that you needed, and you found this great platform, not just for you and your daughter, but also for the community as well.
Yes.
So it's very empowering. And
Yeah.
incredible.
Now, now that the books have expanded into offering, services for self-published authors, yeah, and I have so many authors, mama authors, coming to me and telling me how they got started, why they wanted to write a book. I always ask them, like, what's your goal out of this? Like, why do you want to write a book? And I can really relate to all of their experiences, right? Many of them wanted to find a life purpose. Many of them wanted to pass down this knowledge that otherwise would probably potentially be lost because, it's not in a physical form. So, one of that being Cantonese as an example, right? Like I heard at least a lot of kids in Guangzhou these days, they don't even speak Cantonese anymore. And, and for me, I see my daughter being half Cantonese, half Japanese, and I wanted to make sure that there is tools where she can communicate to my parents too, who don't speak English. So that kind of grew from there. It started out with just, I just want a couple of books for my daughter, and then it kind of now grow into this like preserving this language, but then at the same time having these themes that are cross-cultural. So cross-cultural meaning it's not just unique to Asian culture or Chinese culture, but it's applicable to other cultures as well. So we chance create those books into those other languages, and so that it can become more relevant to kids these days who are, not just going to be identified as Chinese American anymore, right? Like they are maybe identify as Asian American, or maybe just American, right? Because we're becoming so diverse.
So a couple questions I have. So
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure like I'm getting correctly. So you obviously published, started with you publishing, writing books, right? And
Yep.
then now the books you've written are being translated into different languages.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then so other people can read it too, even though they don't speak Mandarin Chinese, or like they
Yes.
want to like different target language. But then also your company, like the publisher, also offers a platform for moms. For example, if I wanted to publish a book, I can come to you and using the
Yeah.
platform into, oh wow, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we definitely walk through different options, right? Because when it comes to publishing, there's different ways these days because technology make it possible. And so, some people want to self-publish. Some people want to publish under a traditional imprint. Some people want to do, different things so kind of giving them that option and walking them through so that they just publish the way that they want. Yeah.
So how does that work? Let's say if they want to self-publish, what services are they getting from DuckDuckBooks?
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenge that I've observed as a self-publisher is a lot of people may not have the professional background in bookmaking, right? Because sure, we can type something out in a Word document, but you cannot literally print that and become a professional book. So what we offer at Duck Publishing is a team of editors, chance creators, graphic designers, right, to help make the book as professional looking as possible. Because, your story is very good, but if your format or, this output, it's not professional looking enough, it's very difficult to sell at stores. It's really difficult to sell to schools or libraries. So we just basically take our background in advertising and marketing and translate that into this, into the publishing realm. So that's really what we offer for self-publishers.
That is amazing. From you self-publishing and now you want to pass this on like this knowledge and power you gained and you want to like transfer or help others too. That's
Yeah,
incredible. Wow.
yeah. Because I feel like it will be very lame if it's just Serena's book, and
Same. Uh,
yeah, and I think personally, like I said, it started with just this like small project, but then during the pandemic, kind of we grew and I realized, wow, I have this team of talent who are equally as passionate as me in, kind of preserving, whether it's preserving language or culture or, publishing in general. And so, making this knowledge or this expertise available to others is going to help kind of lift us up, right, as a whole. Because I feel like as an industry, we need more authors that are people of color that speak authentically of, who they are, right? And so, yeah, so that's why for me, it was a no-brainer that, I have this team, might as well, right? Yeah.
that's really good.
Can you share how many books do you have now, and like maybe example of like the theme and topic of the books?
Yes, yeah. So we currently have 4 titles that are available in 5 languages. So there's 20 books total. The first 15 are mine. And then the latest book that just published, Q4 of last year, is a new author called Ruthie Wu. And so she's the author for the latest book that I have. But I can kind of chat through the different themes. So the first book that started it all, it's called I Am Me. So it's about, celebrating who we are. It's about self-esteem, um, talking about our differences and, how they are worth embracing for. And so that has, that's like my first title called I Am Me. Then my second title is called All Puppies Are Good Puppies. And the inspiration behind that was during the time when I was making that book, it was around, Asian hate, right, everywhere. And that was really affecting me a lot. Just knowing that my child who's Asian might have to face that, right, more so than when I moved here. And so I started really thinking, well, how does a child understand race?
right? How does a child understand racism? Because it has to be taught, right? Because my child, when she was growing up, or when she was little, we would take her to walk our dog, and she would see different dogs of different colors, and she just loved them, right? She doesn't think of it as in like, oh, that one is a black dog, this is a brown dog, right? And then I was reading about this, about adoption, dog adoption, and there's something called the black dog syndrome, which is really intriguing to me. What it says is, dogs that are in shelters that are lighter fur color tends to be adopted way faster than dogs that are black or brown. Isn't that it's like, why is that? Because
That's so
my child
interesting.
love all of them, right? And so that's when I dig a little bit deeper and I realize, wow, racism is really taught by parents or others to the young kids that just have innocent minds, right? So I wrote the book called All Puppies Are Good Puppies as a way to a very subtle way to talk about race. I didn't want to put a book that just goes like, gun ho on anti-racism, because there are better books that are written for that. But I wanted something that's very easy to get into people's homes, right? Everybody loves dogs. Why not? And so it continued to be our bestseller, honestly. And it's a way to not just teach the child, but also the parents that are reading it to them that, well, it's a no-brainer that you would love dogs the same way. Why not people? So the All Puppies Are Good Puppies go through, how dogs have different shapes, sizes, right? They have maybe different personalities. They are coming from different places. They have different names. Just like me, I come from a different place. I was born in a different name. But they deserve all of our praises. So that's the second book. The third book, I actually have it here. It's called I Love You More. So I Love You More, it's a book about 5 languages of love. When I was writing that book, I was on the tail end of recovery for postpartum depression. And through my therapy, we uncover a lot of things that are triggers. And it turns out that my child was perhaps a catalyst, but not the trigger, right? And my trigger really come from my broken relationship with my mother, and how, we now know that there's different ways to express love, but Asian parents may not, right? Like they think about it as like, I yell at you, I love you, right? Like as a way. And so I grew up being a people pleaser because I was so afraid that someone would be mad at me, or even any little thing that I was doing that could make other people not happy, right? So I wanted to write a book that's about the 5 languages of love, but the target audience will be for children and the parents. We have 5 languages of love out there that are about coworkers, about marriage, right? Different relationships, but they are more for adults. Well, why not start them young, right? Letting them know that love from the parents is unconditional. What does that mean, right? Unconditional. You don't have to do anything to earn it, right? Love can take shape in different forms. So whether it's, words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, right? Quality time, and then physical touch, right? Physical touch to us as adult, it's different than to a child. So as a child, maybe bao bao, right? Qing qing bao bao. So it's a very emotional book for me to write. It's a poetic form. Again, going back to my love and writing poems. And I think, for me, it's a book that's as important to me as it is for my child, right? I needed it more to remind myself, that love can take shape in different forms. So, that's a third book. And then the latest book that we have, it's called Kitty Learns a New Lesson from Ruth Yu Wu. And that book, it's about gentle parenting techniques, but it's at the same time, showcasing kids going through kind of that I think 4-year-old, 3 to 4-year-old, it's when they find their independence and they feel like I can do everything myself, but they make mistakes, right? And how would a parent react to it? I think it's, I love that book because when I received the manuscript, from Ruthie, I realized there is a lot of, and Ruthie is also a Chinese American writer. There is a tension between East Asian kind of like interpretation of parenting versus Western parenting, right? We have a lot of gentle parenting things now where we live, but then Asian grow up as in, you get scolded if you make a mistake, right? Like you have to kind of bow down to your parents in a way. And I wanted that healthy tension to kind of meet in the middle a little bit. So at the same time, it's like, so that's a book about basically that, right? How a child grows up exploring independence, making mistakes, but then how would a mom model how to react to that? So the author and me as an editor, we have lots of conversations because she will say, well, if I make a mistake, my mom would scold me, and then I would say, I'm sorry. But I would say, well, what if we challenge that? What if the mom is like looking at the child making a mistake, but she's close by and she said, let me know if you need my help, right? So I think all of these dialogues are things that I think can translate to everyday life, that are that will resonate to every household, so that you remember, oh, perhaps I could approach my child making a mistake in a different way. So I know it's a long-winded way to like talk about the entire story, but yeah, it's a book that's very adorably illustrated, by one of the most talented illustrator that I know personally. So that's the fourth book that we have.
Wow, thank you for taking the time. I just love every single book that you have. And I feel like now I just want to buy all of them and then read them with my kids.
I'll send
It's
them to you.
they're like just very well thought out, and just I truly think parenting is such a hard, challenging, yet very rewarding. I don't know the word for it. Job,
Yeah.
responsibility, but also turns into a superpower because out of love, you do so much homework, right? You learn so much,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's a subject, it's a topic that's never ending, and it will continue to grow.
Yes.
We always
Yes.
need people
Yes.
contributing, and it just very, very inspiring. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very much so. And I feel like your books, it's not just learning the language, like Spanish or Mandarin, social, emotional skill. They're so important now. I mean, even for adults. And now kids this day have so much distraction, social media, friends, and it's just different from when we grow up, right? They have so
Yeah.
much technology now. And I think this kind of book so needed for each of them. I love all of them. Talking about identity, gentle parenting and racism, like subtle way to teach them to
Mhm.
love every color. I love all of them. It's
Yeah.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think you really did turn your. There's a saying they say, turn your mess to a message. Like you were going through something, like you're very generous sharing about your postpartum experience, and which is not, might not be pretty. Looking from the outside, looking back now, I mean, it could be like a mess, but you really turn it into a gift and a message. And now you're helping other moms, other women to, hey, come along with me. I did
Yeah.
this. I got through it. Now come along and let's, find your purpose. Let's publish a book, write your story. And it's
Yeah.
very inspiring.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah. And they say, right? It's like before kids, life is just about ourselves, right? It's like, life is fun, whatever. But after kid, I realized it's like life is so much more than ourselves anymore, right? Like these days, I think about consciously, like what we are doing and how that would affect our next generation, how that would affect the community that my daughter is going to grow up in. And so I think ultimately, the common passion, the drive is really, I just want to raise my daughters to be kind to themselves and kind to others. And hopefully other people would do the same, right? Then maybe the next generation would be in a kind of place than where we are now these days, right? So I think it's a lofty goal in a way, but I think if it starts with our own individual family, even if I cannot change anybody else, but if I can just change my own family's, how we approach kind of these topics, then, maybe there is a ripple effect that could help
Well,
others too. Yeah.
not maybe, it will, what you're doing.
Yeah. And even though you cannot change others, which is, true, but the fact that you're giving your daughters tools,
Yeah.
and then give them voices and they
Mm-hmm.
can advocate for themselves, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's essential. I think everybody should have them, but unfortunately, I don't think it is very commonly taught.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, when you mentioned about your parents, right? Like the upbringing for me, the same as well. I'm from
Mm-hmm.
Taiwan. My parents are from Taiwan, but yeah, there's no such thing as mental health. When I was struggling postpartum, my mom was like, "Well, all the other women, like you're not the only person, not the first woman that given birth. It'll be fine." She loved me, yes, and she loves me. I'm sure of that. But then it was not pleasant to hear that. Like I came to you for some sort of comfort, and you pushed me away or saying something like this.
Yeah.
Like I should just suck it up and don't be whining. I mean that was really
Yeah.
hurtful. But like now looking back, I guess like take the emotional part out. Like that's how she dealt with it, right? And then for her, it's just natural to pass down your experiences. Um,
Yeah.
so I can't really blame her for that. And like now looking back, like we had fights, like so many fights, because there were times I literally just scream at her, like, "You don't love me. Like, why do you say such cruel things to me?" But then like now like now I'm calmer. Then we have like
Mhm.
conversations, and I am like actually so shocked or like so proud of my mom, how resilient she has been, like as a working mom. And like my dad was also not like really attend to her needs in terms of like support or like mental
Yeah.
health. It's just like there's a lot, but I'm just like, she loves me the way that she's not loving me the way that I want to be loved. But I think come to the understanding, the realization, and kind of what you said too, like identify the trigger. And so I'm seeing a therapist too, but I just, it's hard. So it's challenging to, I guess, recognize that and accept that.
I want to add something. I talked to my therapist and she told me the saying, and it's so true. She said every mother's or every person on this earth is doing the best they can at that given moment with the resources they have. If you let that sink in, is in because I have a lot of mom guilt too, but just thinking back, I'm really trying the best I can with whatever I have at that moment. And because we're talking about mothers and the things that my mom like did, I really don't blame her or my parent because they're trying the best they can at that moment and with whatever resources they have. So
Yeah.
I think it goes both way. Let's not blame ourselves or have that mom guilt so much and kind of forgive our parent because it's like the society, that's how the culture is, right? Like we as a Chinese or Taiwanese, as an Asian, we're just not affectionate. Our parents just not affectionate. They just gonna tell you, stop complaining, stop why, just suck it up. Right?
Yeah.
It's just so different now. Yeah.
Yeah. That's also it. I I love what you two just said. First of all, let's just say we unite in a way that we all have our therapist. Hey. And but yeah, like like for example, nowadays if you like read on like mom forums and you see like mother-in-law issues, right, like problems and or a broken relationship between daughter and moms, there is so common. And I keep thinking it's like, well, our mothers are they are make do what they have, right? They are being taught by their parents or network of the things that they are telling us now. It's like, it's almost like a funnel, right? Because they only know that's the only way to cope. And so they are just passing that right down to us. And I think it's not right or wrong. It's just how they survive. We are all survivors in that sense. But what we can do now is if we break that cycle, right, then we don't have to funnel that generational trauma down to our child. So I think that's why, kind of starting them young is so important. I don't want to wait till when they're teenagers, when we are having communication issues to talk about these things. I don't want to wait till when my child have her child and like Trista, like what you have to go through with your mom, right? And then now you are being so brave to like step forward and reconcile with her in a way. And I'm still struggling of how to reconcile all that with my mother too. It's a work in progress too. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading this book. It's called Good Inside. It's from Dr. Becky Kennedy. She is so good. So she said we have to be the cycle breaker, like what you're saying
Yeah.
earlier, right?
Yeah.
But one thing I do want to mention, it's never too late. Like you look at us now, I'm in my late 30s, right? Because
Mhm.
sometimes we're like, oh shoot, my kid's a teenager, like everything's too late. I didn't break that cycle. It can be harder, but it can be done, right?
Yeah.
It's never too late to repair that relationship.
Yeah.
But of course, starting young is much easier, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to repair anything, but
Yeah.
I just want to say that if whoever's listening, you have an older child or a teenager, or even I was listening to this book, and Dr. Becky said there was one of her clients. She's a grandmother, and then she still repaired that relationship with her daughter. So it's still, you can still repair that relationship. So it's never too late. And I think we just have,
Absolutely.
as a mother, it's hard. Like, it's like we blame ourselves. It's so much mom guilt going on. I mean, for me anyways, I
Yeah.
think we just really need to let that go, because we can try the best we can, but nothing's going to be perfect. Parenting, we won't be perfect. I'm sure I always say I'm sure I kind of mess up my child like somehow, like, so I'll just save some money for therapy. Like I'm doing therapy right now. So I mean, we're not gonna be perfect, and we just have to keep trying the best we can
Yeah.
till we die. Just keep learning, keep trying. Yeah.
That's life, right? It's a work in progress, right? And
But then
yeah.
also the fact that knowing that we're not alone, that's why I'm like so appreciative and so thankful for you coming on the show, and also Yao Yao. After I met Yao Yao, it's amazing because like the podcast, the platform, like connected so many other moms or even just people in general. They're in this journey together and with different expertise. And then every single time when I have conversations with these amazing human beings, I'm just enlightened and inspired and encouraged. And it's it's great knowing that we're not in this together. We are suffering, we are thriving, we are
Mhm.
conquering together and learning all together.
Yeah.
It's really nice to know that. So like the fact that you mentioned like you beyond yourself, you provide this platform for other people's voices to be heard.
Yeah.
That is great. That is really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, community is so important. It just right back at Trista, because just doing this podcast, meeting all the amazing women and moms, like we really feel like we're not alone in this. And
Mm-hmm.
every time we're doing this interview, like every time after recording, I feel so recharged, like energized, like, oh, like
Yeah.
I got this. It's
Yeah.
just so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps so much. And I think the pandemic kind of like changed things so much for us, right? Because it used to be, I don't know, like, I don't know what people do back in the day. They probably meet up all the time with their mom friends, but in the pandemic, we couldn't meet up with nobody. And so
Yeah.
that's why, like, your podcast, it's like so perhaps life changing, right? Like, it's like, I'm hoping at least to join you two as friends and, and kind of through these chit chat, share experience and whatnot. And hopefully it doesn't come off as like lecturing, but it's more of just like, hey, a conversation that we would have had if I had you in my house. Um, and
That's
so
exactly what we're trying to create.
Yeah.
A
yeah,
mom talking to another mom, a woman
right,
talking to another woman. There's
yeah.
no, it's raw, it's just a conversation. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's like
Not,
the
not, not,
village, but the whole
yeah.
world is
Yes,
a village.
yes, yeah. Even though we're thousands of miles away, but it feels close in that because we have this shared experience that's like, you know, now I think about being a mom as a badge of honor, right? Back then, I'm like thinking about it as a barrier to my career, as, a hurdle that I have to go through. And not anymore, right? I'm proud to be a mom and, I'm proud to say my children are my inspiration. It sounds as cliche as it is. It is. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, truly, truly enjoyed today's conversation. But let's get back to the Duck Duck books again.
Oh,
So I guess
yeah.
your no, like just like to wrap up, but what's your vision or what are your like what's the future or like like long-term, short-term goals? How do you envision Duck Duck
Yes.
books?
Yeah. So, well, Duck Duck as a brand, I think can take shape in many, many forms, right? Um, Other than just publishing books, which we have new books in the works, I wanted to make a series of books about coping with emotions. So, we have lots of books out there that are very well written about identifying emotions. So like, for little kids, but what do you do with it? Right? Okay. I understand this is sad. This is angry, but what do you do when you feel sad, when you feel angry? And I wanted to kind of create a series of books that, kind of like read this when you feel angry or read this when you feel sad, right? So that they would go through the different coping mechanism or maybe ways to 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 embrace that emotions and overcome it. So that's in the work. At the same time, we are working with numerous other authors. We're working with the Washington Department of Health, which is super amazing to ghostwrite their book. So yeah, so that side is happening. And also I'm dabbling into kind of making eco-conscious lifestyle goods for kids. So I invented this backpack that is convertible, so you can take off all the straps, right, as the child gets older, and it becomes an insulated lunch bag. Because otherwise, like, lots of kids' backpack these days, they're cute, but once they outgrow it, well, what do you do with it? You donate it, you put it in the trash. And so I wanted to create something with longevity. So that's kind of like in the works as well. So in other words, the Duck Duck brand has grown into not just books, Duck Duck Books now, but Duck Duck Publishing. We have Duck Duck Eco Goods. And hopefully we'll see where that goes. But these days, when I'm nursing my second child, I'm like working from my phone, researching, chatting with my team. You can run a business lying in bed these days.
You are incredible. You are wow. That sounds amazing. And you're like so many like you dip your toes in so many fields. And I love the convertible backpack idea. Because they're like
Yeah.
convertible cribs. Like it exists, right? But then aside
Mhm.
from I'm not sure any other products have that longevity.
That
I guess
that
the
that
high chair.
convertible.
High chair does that too.
Yeah, yeah, the 6-in-1. We have one of
Yeah.
those. Yeah,
Mhm. Just
exactly. That's the
fine.
whole point, right? It's like if you're investing in product for your child, you want it to last more
Right.
than just a few years, right? So yeah, and I partner with this um, um, called Out of the Woods, and they have this trademark product that's basically made from tree pulp. So so it's like a vegan leather feel, but it's made from trees, which is a renewable source, and it's washable. So I think there's a lot of cool features about the backpack that hopefully young parents or parents with young kids would feel connected to. Yeah.
Serena, you are amazing. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank
Keep
you.
doing what you're doing. You are affecting and changing our children's lives and a mother's lives too. It's very inspiring what you're doing. Yeah.
No, thank you so much. Thank you, you too. And I'm
You.
pretty sure all the the impact that you guys are making in your community as well are equally, if not more, inspiring too.
Can you share with us where we can find you on
Yeah.
where we can find Dot Books?
Yeah, so you can follow us on social media at Books on pretty much major platforms. And also our website is duckduckbooks.com.
Nice. I will link everything in the show notes. Is there anything that you want to say that we didn't ask you?
No, I think we cover a lot. I love our conversation today. It feels empowering. It feels energizing. So yeah, I
Thank
can't
you
wait
for
to
sharing.
go about my day.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode that we brought to you. If you like this episode, if you learned something from us, from our guest, make sure you share it to your friends so they can enjoy it too with us. Bring them into our community. We can learn and grow together. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast and leave a review so we can hear from you. And don't forget to go to our show notes for our free resources. We will see you next time. Bye!